welcome back to the studio. And bear with me for just a quick second here while I just get everything kind of leveled out and get things going on my laptop here. Just want to make sure everything is kind of leveled and even, and we got good lighting and everything's kind of straight. And let's hit that. We'll move that. And I think we are good. Just checking my screen, just make sure everything's okay. Because there's a little bit of a delay between what I'm recording and okay, I think we are good. We can probably come down just a little tiny bit. All right. So, hello everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. So, when I started doing videos back in, what was it, towards the end of 2023, I had a whole lot of different video content. So, I had Throwback Thursdays. I started off with Step It Up Saturdays because I couldn't do lives on YouTube yet. Which those ultimately went away, and then I did Friday Night Lives, and I also had done the special holiday video. So whenever there was a holiday, I also did a bonus video for that. Well, because coming up with the projects and the content and filming and also working a full-time job, it was starting to get a little overwhelming. So when it came to the holidays, I kind of did away with those because I figured, okay, I can tie that holiday either into a Throwback Thursday where I use retired product, or I can mix it in as a Friday Night Live. So then that way I was still, covering the holiday. Well, when I went through my planner and I was scheduling what I was going to use for this month, I totally skipped over putting something down for St. Patrick's Day. And because of that, that is why I am doing a special holiday video, because Stampin' Up! Does have like three different stamp sets in which there is a St. Patrick's Day type of theme to it. And so I really wanted to go and use those. So the three that I'm using, usually it's just like maybe one stamp set or one bundle, or maybe one suite. However, when you got three different stamp sets that you can utilize that kind of cover St. Patrick's Day, well, I figured I'm going to throw that in there. So the first one is Good Luck. This came out as an online exclusive item. It is also still available. For the most part, I think just about everything that I'm using is still current and you can get. There is a ribbon that I am using on my last card that is retired, but maybe you have it or you have something of a similar color, or you can just go with um, like white because that card is going to be predominantly that color and white. So, but Good Luck, again, online exclusive item, and it is currently still available. Then there is Reason to Celebrate. So with this stamp set, you don't have any images, you just have your like greetings and wording, and you can kind of build on this. So you can cover anniversary, graduation, like just even a general special day, New Year's, congratulations, a birthday, Valentine's Day, Easter, and then there's even St. Patrick's Day. So you got like a couple of, all these different groupings of words, and you can just kind of build on the greeting that you want to stamp. And then there is seasonal celebrations. Now this one's going to cover like your Valentine's Day. It's going to cover like spring and Easter because you got a bunny here. You got a birthday, of course, St. Patrick's Day, and then you have a graduation cap. Now, what's interesting about this particular stamp set is that These images in here are not small at all. They are pretty large. So your graduation cap is pretty big. Your daffodil, pretty big. Your bunny head right here. And then, of course, there's our shamrock. But yeah, images in this stamp set are pretty big. And so what's nice if you're doing a graduation card, you got a nice big cap, and there's even the tassel to it as well. So a lot of really cool images in here. So I'm using, like I said, I'm using a combination of the three because all three kind of cover St. Patrick's Day to an extent. And so, yeah, for some reason, St. Patrick's Day is one of those holidays that, do I celebrate it? Not really, but do I like crafting for it? Yes. Last Friday when I did my Friday Night Live, I had like a headband, with shamrocks on it, kind of like get in the holiday mood. So yeah, so today's projects are going to cover St. Patrick's Day. So plenty of green in all of these projects. So let me bring out the pieces for my first card here. And I also want to show you something that I used that gave me the inspiration as far as the colors went. So I do have the color cubes. So this is from the second edition. There was a first edition that had a volume 1 and 2, and that came out a few years ago. And then just recently, I want to say, was it around the middle of last year? Um, they were kind of upgraded, and two more volumes were added onto it. So each box, I believe, has 250 cards. So, yeah, when you got four, so you got about 1,000 cards. I think that's what it would be, 1,000. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So this too is kind of like an investment. So, I gotta, if I buy something, I gotta be using it and utilizing it. And one of the reasons why I purchased these was because I really love the different color combinations that give me inspiration as far as what I want to create. Now if to really, do something that's kind of original, it's like I go out on Pinterest, I can look at card sketches, I can utilize these cards for a color combination, and and yeah, and that's how I can come up with something, that's kind of different. A lot of times too, if I pull in a designer series paper, I'll also look at the colors that are in that paper, and then I'll go with that as well. But this is card number 111 in the revised version of the color cubes. And so in here they have white, which I have some white. They got pale goldenrod, which to me would look like pear pizzazz, but pear pizzazz is a retired color. I could have used it. However, I wanted to try and stick with mostly like things that you can still get. Then the citron looks more like old olive. This dark olive green to me was like mossy meadow. And then the myrtle, which is like a darker green. I figured that between these two, I had mossy meadow. So these are the colors that I kind of went with. Now, as far as this pale goldenrod, they have different shades of it. So you have a paler green. So I went with a soft sea foam for that green. So that's where the inspiration with the colors came from for this particular card. So my card base is Mossy Meadow, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I have a piece of basic white that measures 5.25 by 4. A piece of old olive that measures 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And then I had cut four. This is soft sea foam, and these are 1.5 by 1.5 squares. And then four pieces of basic white that are 1.25 by 1.25. All right, so I'm going to start by folding and burnishing my card base. And let me get my bone folder out of here. Okay, and I'm going to set that aside. Then I'm going to take my old olive and I'm going to adhere it onto my piece of basic white. Now what I want to do is I want to get something that is dark to put underneath my white, because with my grid paper being white and that cardstock being white, this will make it a little bit easier for me to get this lined up on here. There's only a very small border of the white that's going to be around the old olive, so I want to be able to easily see that. So let's add some adhesive to our old olive. And then I'm going to center this like so. Okay, that looks good. All right, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to stamp on these pieces. So the stamp set, now with the stamp sets, they're the red rubber, they're not making any more stamp sets in red rubber. So now everything's kind of like the photopolymer. So when you're stamping with photopolymer, especially if it's a solid image and if you want a good stamped image, you need some kind of like cushion or foam underneath. It's not like the red rubber, it has the foam on it. Photopolymer does not. All right, so for this one, I am using the stamps out of the Good Luck stamp set. I'm going to use this Shamrock here and the Lucky to Be Friends. Let me pull that out and take that off. There's my Shamrock. Looks like I got to clean that Shamrock. And Lucky to Be Friends. So let me get block and I clean the bottom of this. Okay. All right, let me just dry that off. Okay, and then get another block for my Lucky to Be Friends. All right, let's take a sip of coffee because coffee's good. Okay, so one of these I am going to stamp the Lucky to Be Friends. Now the colors that I'm going to use is Mossy Meadow. Now I do have a Mossy Meadow full-size ink pad. However, there's something up when it comes to Mossy Meadow, because I mean I've actually replaced that ink pad a few times. I think there's like some kind of reaction thing happening between the ink itself and the foam pad, because what happens at some point, your ink pad could be nice and inked up, and when you go to stamp you still got parts where it looks like the ink is dry. um, and then after a while it seems like when you go to stamp you got basically like the indentation of your stamp in the ink pad. So I have brought in the actual little ink spot of Mossy Meadow. So the little ink spots, they are felt pads. So yeah, so I'm gonna use, so when it comes to Mossy Meadow, this is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to ink up Lucky to Be Friends. Ink that up really good. And then I'm going to stamp that right here in the center of one of my basic white squares. Okay. And then I'm going to clean my stamp. Put that aside. And then my shamrock. I'm going to bring in this ink spot again. So one of these I'm going to stamp in Mossy Meadow, and then the other two are going to be in Old Olive. Okay. All right, so there's one. I'm going to close this up, put that aside, and we'll clean our stamp. And I'll dry it. Okay, and then these other two, I'm going to do in Old Olive. Okay, so there we go. That's all the stamping that we're doing on this particular card. All right, and I'll clean my stamp really quick. All right, now we're going to do some assembly here. All right, so each one of these squares are going to get adhered onto my soft seafoam square. So for this, I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. Okay. Lucky to be friends. And we'll center that. Scooch it up just a little bit. Okay. Okay, there's our Mossy Meadow pieces. And our Old Olive. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to bring in this panel here with my basic white and my Old Olive. And I am going to start with, I want to kind of place my pieces here how I want them. Let's see. That one there. I'm going to put that one there. So I want to line these up more up towards the top here. Like so. All right. So I'm going to start with this one right here. Add some glue. And place that right about there. So I'm looking, whoops, don't shift. So I'm kind of looking at the side to see if this is straight with that edge and if it's straight with the up at the top. Now, once you get the one down, it's a little bit easier for lining everything else up. So now I'm going to take my Old Olive Shamrock. And I kind of rotated these so they weren't all in the same direction. And so I'm going to place this one down again, making sure that it's kind of straight, and I'm just eyeballing to see if I got the same amount of a distance from both sides. Okay, and then we'll put the other two down. It's a little crooked. Okay, press that down. And then we got our lucky to be friends. Okay, so there we go. We got that. Now, before I adhere this panel onto my Mossy Meadow, I do want to add some ribbon to it. So the ribbon that I'm using is the gold striped mesh ribbon. I think that this is now back in stock. And I'm going to also pull in for my embellishments. Since I got it in my hand, these are the loose gold sequins. So we're going to use those for our card as well. All right, so let me get a pair of scissors. And I'm going to take a piece that's going to be long enough to kind of wrap this around. So instead of having the bulk of a knot when I got a whole entire piece, I'm going to take some tape and I'm going to wrap this around like so and add my tape to hold it down. I kind of eyeball this to make sure it's straight. And then take the other end down. Okay, and then I'm going to take this whole piece now, and I'm going to glue this onto my card base. Okay, we'll center that like so. And press that down. Okay, so now I'm going to take another piece of my gold mesh ribbon, and I'm not going to tie a bow, but I'm going to tie a knot instead. Got a pretty big piece here. Okay, and then just pull that like so. And then I'm going to trim at an angle. Like so. All right, now we're going to add some embellishment to this. So we're going to use these loose gold sequins. So these come in, let's see, it's not, yeah, on the cover it says, so these come in 4mm, 5mm, and 6. So I'm just going to take some, try and get it in the lid, not all over the desk. What's nice about these sequins, they don't have the holes in the middle of them. All right, so then I'm going to add a couple of, well, not a couple, but a few drops of glue. Sprinkle some sequins on here. Okay. And then I'm going to get my take your pick tool and pull out that end, because these things will stick to the putty end here. So I use this to kind of take them off. All right. So I'm going to take one of my larger ones. I'll stick that right there. All right. And that one there. And let's get some smaller ones here. This one right here. And let's see, this one. There, and then one more. We'll put this one right here. Okay, so let me get these back in here. And we'll close that up. And move that out of the way. And there we go. There is our first card. Love, love, love. I'm not really a green person, but I don't know. When it comes to doing St. Patrick's Day, I like using the green. All of a sudden I like green. All right. Now let's bring in the stuff for our second card. Let me put these back on here so I don't have stamps all over the place, and I have my blocks free to use. All right, so my second card. Yeah, I'm using those stamps. All right, let me get this out of the way. These cases are like much bigger than what we've had before, because we had the DVD cases for our stamps. So now the packaging for both the stamps and the set of dies are all the same size. So you can see it's bigger, but it's slimmer. I still have mixed emotions about it, because the way I have things stored on a bookshelf, at least on the spine, I can see the name of it. The name is only on the front. All right, so the next card. All right, let me bring in all these pieces and move things out of the way. All right, so for this card, my card base is Garden Green, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I have a piece of Granny Apple Green, that's 5.25 by 4. I have a piece of the Florals in Bloom Designer Series paper. This measures 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. So this is the paper right here. So usually the names of the suites kind of match what the name of the paper is. So I think this is the Florals in Bloom. It's part of the Florals in Bloom suite. This designer series paper is currently in our current annual catalog, and it features, I think, like all of the newer in colors in it. So very pretty, bright, vibrant, and colorful paper. So again, this piece measures 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. So you're going to find on all the cards that I have done in this video that between the card base and then the two layers that go on top, they're all going to be the same size. Okay, so 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And then out of a scrap piece of basic white, I have die cut this out of the Nested Essentials dies. And then this big greenery piece right here, this is Summer Splash. And I had die cut that out of the Nature Symphony die. So this is part of the Nature Symphony bundle. So because the packaging for both the dies and the stamp set are the same, what I've done is I basically take the dies out of the plastic sleeve, and both fit perfectly in one sleeve. So I have a whole bunch of empty sleeves that I can use to put other sets in. So this is still current. This is in the current mini catalog, the January to April catalog. So this I'm going to kind of cut apart, and this is going to kind of like be a backdrop for our card. All right, so I'm going to fold and burnish my card base. Okay, set that aside. Then I'm going to take my designer series paper, and I'm going to adhere that to my Granny Apple Green. Okay. And I will center that. And again, there'll be just a little border of that Granny Apple Green all the way around. Okay, and then I'll bring in my card base, and we're going to adhere this down to the card base. Okay. We'll center that. All right. The glue goobers off of there. All right, so now I'm going to do a little bit of stamping. So I'm going to bring in my Nested Essential die cut here. And then for this one, I'm going to bring in Reason to Celebrate. And for this one, I'm going to pull out St. Patrick's Day. And then there is a little happy in here as well. So I'm going to pull that out. And then from the stamp set, the Good Luck that I used before, there's this little shamrock in here. I'm going to pull that out. All right, so the colors of ink that I'm going to use on this one is Garden Green and Granny Apple Green. Okay, so let's get some blocks here. My blocks desperately need to be cleaned. Okay, and then I need another one for my shamrock. Okay, so I am going to start off with my Garden Green and my Happy. I'm going to stamp right up in the top right here. Actually, I don't want to be putting my hand in the ink pad. So I'm going to stamp that right on the top there. And then get my St. Patrick's Day. Ink that up. And then I'm going to stamp that right underneath, like so. Okay. close that up. And let me go clean these two up. All right, and then I'm going to bring in my little shamrock here, and I'm going to sprinkle some of these on this piece. Okay. I'm going to stamp one down there. I'm kind of rotating this as I go. Kind of flip some over. And then one there, and then we'll add a couple up here at the top. Like so. All right. So that's all the stamping for this card. Close this up. Okay, put that there. All right, so for this big greenery piece right here, I'm going to trim this down some. So let me get, these are my ribbon scissors, so we don't want to use these. Okay, let me, all right, so I'm going to separate this. Let's see. Just going to snip that. And snip that right there. Okay, and then I'll snip this off. This part's going to be covered up anyway, so you're not gonna see that. All right, so for my bigger piece here, I'm going to adhere this using my glue dots, because there's these little slit cuts in the leaves. If I use liquid glue, then the liquid glue could end up oozing out, and I don't want that. And then trying to use my seal, I could end up tearing it. So glue dots are the best bet for putting this down. Okay, so my larger piece here, I'm going to add some glue dots to these leaves. This to all be held down. Okay, and then this, I want to place this up over here. Just press that down. All right, and then the other bigger piece that I have here. It's so I'm filming this on Sunday, March 15th. And so right now the sun is out, but it is getting windier. We are supposed to be getting some severe weather. Think like around like 5 or so it's supposed to start, 5 or 6. And then it's supposed to last for a few hours. And so, you know, the line of storms that are coming through, there's possible tornadoes, there's possible hail, heavy gusts of wind, and yeah, so I'm kind of hoping and praying that that the power is going to stay on and it will not go out. Another one of the good reasons to be recording this now and not waiting till later on the week, not knowing what's going to happen. All right, so I'm going to place this right over here. Okay, and then this piece, we're going to pop this one up with our dimensionals. So I'm working on this one, getting this one done, and it'll be scheduled. So of course you're seeing this on St. Patrick's Day. So anything that I'm saying right now is already going to be done, but my plan is that to get this done and then work on what I'm going to do for my Throwback Thursday and get that all filmed and all that before any of these storms start, and then work on what I'm doing for my Friday Night Live. So my Friday Night Live is going to be the Homemade Sweetness Suite. That's the suite that I believe it's an online exclusive, and it's got like that big jelly jar die to it. So that's what I'm going to be doing for Friday. On my Friday Night Lives, I do a card giveaway for the cards that I have made. And then what else do I do? Oh, and I also create a free PDF that has all the supplies, the dimensions, and everything, and pictures of the projects that I have done. So that, you know, if you like the projects, you can download it, and then there's even in the date at the top of the PDF, there's um, in the date, there's a link that if you click on that, it's going to take you back to that video. So since what, January of 2024, there are over 100 PDFs out there. So, the link for it is in the description of any of my Friday Night Lives. It's that last little paragraph right above the list of supplies. So if you ever want some inspiration from past Stampin' Up! Product, well, it was current at the time, feel free to take a look at that and see if there's something that you like, and, download it, print it out, and, and gives you some inspiration. Take another sip of my coffee. All right, so now we got all this on here. So now we're going to bling it up again using our gold sequins. So I'm going to take some and put it in here. Try and keep it in the lid. And then I'll get my glue. And just add some drops of glue. All right, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. All right, so let's get this again. And a little one. Only one. Take another big one and put that down here. This one. here. Medium. And then one more. Three-way, yeah. Okay. So there we go. Got some gold on this card as well. Okay, let me close this up. Make sure it's completely closed. Okay. So there is our second card. Lots of green. Now, this Summer Splash is more, I would describe Summer Splash as being a darker version of Coastal Cabana, so it's more of an aqua color. But if you look in the designer series paper, you're kind of seeing some of that aqua color in there. So that's, I wanted to have something that popped a little bit. So, but other than that, it's all about the green. Okay, so now let's pull in the stuff for our final card. Now, for my final card, if you're doing a St. Patrick's Day card, you have to like use this color. This color is part of the in colors that Summer Splashes in. And actually, these 5 in colors was it Pretty in Pink, Peach Pie, Shy Shamrock, which is what my last card's going to be, Summer Splash, and Petunia Pop. Those are the in colors that are going to be retiring. So if there's anything that you wanted in those colors, whether it was cardstock, the ink pad, re-inker, the Stampin' Blend markers, designer series paper, embellishments, anything with those in colors in it. If you like those colors, I would suggest purchasing them sooner rather than later, only because it's already known that these colors are going to be retiring, and once they're gone, they're gone. So um, yeah, usually as we get towards the end of a catalog, then things are going to sell out pretty quickly, and it's basically while supplies last. So any of these in colors, if you like them, you know, get it sooner rather than later. Okay, so of course, like I was mentioning, we're doing St. Patrick's Day cards. So of course we have to use Shy Shamrock. Now, the other cards that I did, like for example, the second one that I did, I thought about using this, but then when you look at it, Shy Shamrock is not in the designer series paper. So I decided, okay, I was just going to go with this because it was closer to what was in the paper. So this one is basically just Shy Shamrock and Basic White. So like my other 2 cards that I did, these dimensions are going to be the same. Shy Shamrock cardstock measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. A piece of Basic White that's 5.25 by 4. And this is the 2024 to 2026 in color designer series paper. So you got like your stripes, you got your flowers. There is kind of like this watercolor splatter look on the back of this one. And then the other one has, it's mostly a green background um, with the white leaves on it. Okay, and then I have a strip of Basic White. So this is 1 inch wide, and it ultimately is going to be 2 7/8 of an inch. Let me trim this down really quick. Hold on one second. I cut, a much larger piece, not knowing what size I was going to need, but with my sample card, I measured it. So this is going to be uh, 2 7/8 of an inch by 1. And then out of a scrap piece of Basic White, this circle I punched out using the 2 3/8 inch circle punch. And that's all the pieces for this. All right, so I'm going to fold and burnish my card base. And the sad thing is that these in colors, this is like its second year. I have hardly used Shy Shamrock at all. And Shy Shamrock is a nice green color because I'll tell you what, the embellishments that I'm going to use on this, I have used basically all the other colors, but I hadn't even used the Shy Shamrock color. So yeah, as we're coming towards the end of this color, you know, I have to, you know, start using it. All right, so I'm going to take my designer series paper and I'm going to use the flower printed side. And let me get my Pierce mat again, because again, I'm putting this down on white. And I'm going to center that like so. Okay, and then now the one ribbon that I'm using, it is retired. It retired last year. But again, to the not using this color that much, this is the first time that I am using this ribbon. So this is the Shy Shamrock bordered ribbon. So the bordered ribbon came in all of the in colors. This ribbon had retired. But yeah, this color, I hadn't even used it. I had just opened up this bolt of ribbon when it came to making this project. So that's pretty bad of me. It's about ready to retire and I really haven't used it. All right, so let me close up these scissors. And then I got my ribbon scissors here. So just like I did on the other one, I'm cutting a piece to wrap around, and I'm going to tape it down. So let me get my tape. And I'm going to put this down on over on the left side of my card. So about there. Fold it over. And put a piece of tape down. I'm going to press that down. Okay, and then let me get another piece. And see if that's straight. And wrap that around. And add my tape. All right, and then I'm going to glue this down to my card base. Okay, and the ribbon's going to be on the left side here. And put this down. So what's nice about this, this layout, now, I mean, other than using a shamrock, you can use like any other type of image, and you can do this, this layout in lots of different colors, and you can do it for different occasions. So on your circle punch, you can add a flower on there. You can add like that, this seasonal celebration stamp set. You have like your graduation cap. You have a birthday hat. You got, well, the bunny, I don't know if the bunny would fit on there, but you can use the same layout. And yeah, that bunny head's way too big. But yeah, you can use different images for your focal point there in the middle. All right, so then let me bring back in my Pierce mat, and I'm going to bring in this big shamrock here, and let me get my block, and put that aside. All right, so then on this 2 7/8 by 1 inch piece, we're going to do our Happy St. Patrick's Day. So I am going to bring in my Shy Shamrock ink. Got to stick with the same color here. All right, ink up my St. Patrick's Day. And I'm going to stamp that. Now I'm not going all the way down to the very bottom. I'm just going to leave enough room up there at the top so I can put my Happy on there. Ink up my Happy. And that's going to go right over here. So there's that. It looks really dark. My ink pad is very inky. As that dries, that's going to dry lighter. Oops, why am I closing this? I'm not done yet. Let me bring in my circle punch here. Ink up my Shamrock. And we're going to, this is just going to fit in this punch. Okay, and again, that's going to dry a little bit lighter. Okay, move this out of the way. And I'll clean off my stamps. I like to clean them as I go because you never know if your cardstock is going to fall out of your hand or what's going to happen, and you don't want to end up getting ink all over something that you already had stamped. Okay, so now bring in my card. My greeting piece here, I'm going to add some glue. Okay, and then I'm going to put this right down here in this bottom right hand corner. And my ribbon is kind of covering where I got to put this down. Okay, so I'll press that down. Then I'm going to take my Shamrock here and I'm going to pop this up. So I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. And I'll add one here in the middle. Okay, and then this is going to go right here. Now, I'm not done with this part right here. I'm going to do, just like I did on the other one, I'm going to add a knot. So that's, okay, why am I struggling here? There shouldn't be no struggling. Okay. So I'm going to add my knot right there. And then I'm going to trim. Now this particular ribbon does fray on the ends. And trim this right over here. Like so. So there we go. There's that. Now for my embellishments, I'm going to bring in, these are the 2024 to 2026 in color flat pearls. So both in color collections have the same type of embellishment. So again, with these in colors, you have, and my God, I have a pink one here that doesn't want to stay where it needs to stay. So you have your peach pie, pretty in pink. This is Shy Shamrock. You can see that's all I've used are just the three that I used on my sample. So I hadn't even used this color. Actually, I didn't even use the peach pie or the pink. What's up with that? Maybe this is not the first package I got. This could be another one. I don't know. I feel like I have used these colors. I don't. Okay. Anywho, then you have your petunia pot pop, and then the summer splash. So on this one, of course, I'm going to use the Shy Shamrock ones, and these come in 3 different sizes. And what's nice about these, there's not a lot of lift to them, so they're pretty flat, so they're going to mail nicely. So then I'm going to add one of each of the sizes on here like so. And let's get this all out of the way. And I can show you, well, and there's the final card. So all about the Shy Shamrock on this one. So let me bring in the other cards that we have done. So here's my first one, Lucky to Be Friends. So this one is more of your greenish, yellowish greenish color. So the Mossy Meadow and the Old Olive, they two colors that go together very well. And even that pop of gold between the ribbon and those sequins just really make this card really, really nice. It's simple, a simple layout and just a lot of wow to it. Then my second card, we use some designer series paper for our background. And again, this paper contains the same colors that I used in the cardstock, the garden green and the granny apple green. And then I did that little pop of my greenery that I die cut out of Summer Splash. And again, adding the gold sequins on here just really brings out all the bling on this card. And then our final card was all about the Shy Shamrock, you know, our designer series paper, cardstock, ribbon that now again, like I said, this ribbon is retired, but the embellishments, they are still available. And just a um, very simple laid out card. And of course, like I said, you can use the same layout and just have something different stamped on your punch out piece, and then just change up what kind of greeting or whatever that you want on the bottom. So there are my St. Patrick's Day cards for 2026. Thank you so much for taking the time to stop by. If you like the projects, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, if you could please subscribe to the channel. It not only helps me in growing this channel and getting my videos out there for other paper crafters to see, it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business as well. So between shares, likes, subscriptions, comments, all of that really helps get the video out there, and know that I truly do appreciate any bit of help that I can get to get my videos out there. What else do I want to say? I do have a monthly newsletter that I send out. It's usually the first Tuesday of every month. In my newsletters, right up there at the top of them, the first thing, I do have everything listed for my video schedule, what I'm going to be doing for that month. So you can see what products that I am using. So everything from my Throwback Thursday to my Friday Night Lives. I even have like this bonus video in there as well. Paper pumpkin and my monthly Christmas card inspiration. So everything that I use for those days, I have that in my newsletter. Also, anything that I may have going on here in the studio or what Stampin' Up! May be offering, I have those in there. The current paper pumpkin kit that is going, the subscription period for it is going to end like a few days after, about a week or so after I have sent the newsletter. So details about that. And then also they every month they come out with two or three new kits in their kits collection. So I have pictures of those and a description of the kit. So you kind of see everything that's kind of going on and what's new. So if you would like to receive my newsletter, again, in the description, there is a link. It'll take you to, it's through Constant Contact. You add your name and your email address, and then when I go to send it out again, it'll go out to everybody that is subscribed to my newsletter. Um, so with that, I do want to say that, like I mentioned earlier, I'm recording this on a Sunday afternoon. We are going to get a line of some severe weather that comes through here. However, that line is also like from south of us and it goes all the way up to the north. And so these storms are going to blow through a large area of the US. And then up north, after this front kind of comes through, then they're talking about some snow. And the temps here, I can tell you that right now it's pretty nice. The temps I think is about like in the 70s. However, after this cold front comes through, we're going to then be down in the 30s. So any of you that are in the path of any part of this storm, um, stay warm. Please stay safe. If you do not have to be out on the roads at all, then please stay home and stay warm and stay safe. So with that, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thank you, everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.